something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the f*** is that, dude?
Well, good evening to you folks. How are you this very fine sort of a Friday? At least it has been a reasonably fine sort of a Friday in my part of the world. I hope it has been in yours. There might be a bit of rain down in southern parts, and I believe that the sprayers are back up north. So there's likely to be a bit of rain in the far north of Queensland in the not too distant future. Maybe they're just trying to keep it dry at the moment for the operation that Pitch Black's been going on up there. I don't know if that's been reactivated yet or not. Sorry, I'm just going to turn a few things off here. Don't know if that's been reactivated again or not after the helicopter accident. I'll try and find out a bit more detail about that, but they're all being pretty quiet about that one at the moment. Friday, what a great day. Notice the hair? Did manage to go and get a haircut today, and there were a few things I wanted to try and get done today. Didn't get too many of them achieved. Still pretty washed out after this week of whatever the hell it is I had. I think I'm over it. I'm getting over it to a point where I should be okay tomorrow. I hope I'll be all right tomorrow. It's just, a bit snotty now. But outside of that, I'm not anymore. And, not shaking, not shivering, not carrying on like a pork chop. So all things going well. Fingers crossed. It will remain that way. Sunflower, first in tonight. God love you. And good evening to everybody. Her family to yours and mine to everybody as well. Lovely to have you along. Debs was in too. Paul's always in early. G'day, Toxic. Hope you're all picking up, mate. I know that you've been feeling a bit off, so I hope you've started picking up a bit. And Margot, lovely to see you. The lovely Michelle Bradley Smith, lovely to see you in. And Aussie Sue. So all three of our mods climb in real quick. And, of course, Vince, who would be on tonight, but because he's got another hat he wears with my place, he's in Mount Barker tonight in Adelaide or in the Adelaide Hills for a big get-together there, my place get-together there. Darren Bergworth's in town. In fact, he was in Mannum last night. I think he was in Murray Bridge yesterday for lunch and Mannum last night for dinner, and now Mount Barker tonight for what will be a pretty big event. So hopefully you're all heading off there and or are watching this later and have had a great time. So Vince won't be joining us tonight. It won't be so much of a free-for-all because, to be honest, I haven't got a great deal of stuff to talk about. I've been out today. I needed to go and do a few things. Who knew? Things that had to be paid for. Anyway, went and got paid for. Got a haircut because I was sick and tired of looking like a Wookiee again. And I managed to wash Cass's Mustang. And it seemed only the right thing to do as she let me drive it down the hill. So, and I drove it carefully. There are no speeding fines or anything like that. I didn't have a GoPro with me, otherwise I would have shown myself washing it, of course. Because you wouldn't show anything else, would you? Not that I did anything else anyway, because I'm a good boy. Kim, little rain in Coffs today. Oh, well, there you go. It is happening south. Last few days has been very warm. I believe over the weekend in the southeast corner of Queensland, we're expecting mid-20s. So that's a bit of a return to normalcy, if you ask me. It's been unseasonably cold, particularly here. I mean, it does get cold, but by God, really cold. Jack, your young bloke's been out having a bit of fun. 31 centimetre brim and a 10 centimetre golden snapper. Thank you very much. You'll be eating well for the next day or two. DM. Made a toast egg cheese sandwich just before I was surprised. Oh, wow. 2 double yokers in a row. I don't know. That must be lottery ticket worth buying now, I would have thought. baked brim and white wine with garlic. Oh, yeah, Jack, you got to. It's a bit far for me to come for lunch, but by gee, one day we'll do that. That'd be very nice. That sounds absolutely wonderful. Yeah, let's get into what's happening in Paris. Aren't you glad you're not at the Olympics? I'm hearing tell that many of our athletes will not be appearing at the opening ceremony, which is happening along the River Seine. So it's not happening in a stadium as such, although I'm sure there'll be a portion of it somewhere like that. But it's a parade essentially along the River Seine, and I guess they'll assemble somewhere and do all the things that they have to do. We have the largest, don't we always, every year there is an Olympics on, we send away the largest contingent of Australians ever, and we come back with decreasingly less or increasingly less medals, I think, from memory, particularly at the Olympics. However, some of our Olympians are choosing not to participate in the opening ceremony. That is because they are committed to their sport, and their first day begins first thing in the morning, or they've got to be away in another venue to begin, or whatever. And some of them just don't want to risk it. Some of them have already made plans that, in fact, I know that the Australian Olympic Committee has plans as soon as every athlete's event is finished, they will be essentially given the opportunity to leave the village with only a small crew left behind for the closing ceremony and handover. So it'll be interesting. That's mainly due to security concerns. And of course, security concerns is what we should be having at the moment, because what the hell's happening in Paris? Just that, arson attacks. And now this is on the high-speed rail network. This is how people who are going to the Olympics to come to the opening event. However, the demand for tickets for this kind of thing hasn't been terribly high. Neither has demand for tickets at the venues for the different sports. In fact, over 600,000 tickets have not been sold. So it is not a popular event. The tourists haven't turned up hardly at all. Those that have apparently are leaving before the opening ceremony. So I'm not surprised, because the strife that's been on the streets of Paris, the clear political division and uncertainty about the trust people can have in their voting system as well. There is a problem with the illegal immigrants that have been making France home for a number of years and just seem to keep coming and keep trying to cross the border to get into the UK. I don't know how successful they've been. We used to hear a lot about how stopping them at the border, but don't hear too much about that anymore. Still, just saw the aftermath of the fires in Jasper in Alberta. More fuel for the climate change agenda. I'm not familiar with the fires in Alberta, but I'll go and have a look. This time of year, summer, pretty wild area, isn't it? Alberta, Jasper. It's all mountainous, I would have thought, and full of snow usually. Fires wouldn't have been an unusual occurrence, but I guess they do get very big bushfires like we do. So I'll have a bit of a look into that. We might have a chat about it one day next week. Daniel, you'd like to know why planes flying around Australia with no tracking turned on, why they aren't being shot down unless their foreign registered belligerent government is involved. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to think what sort of planes you might be referring to. Military planes don't have to fly around with a civilian transponder working. They are allowed to squawk a military number, or they squawk a military code, and they check in with air traffic control, but they are pretty much responsible for keeping separation from everything for themselves. They've got free rein to go just about everywhere, except down into controlled airspace in normal times, they'll use radios and all that for that. It's very rare that you will see a military aircraft on your tracking apps unless you are using something like Skyglass, which has a military transponder tracking feature. Skyglass is an app that you can download and is pretty good. It's just very difficult to get your head around. It's very, very, very detailed. If you are interested in getting a bit of a look at it before you try and buy, MonkeyWorks uses it to great advantage. So search MonkeyWorks, WORKS. Pardon me. Let us say, I'm still very, 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 very dry, and the throat does get a bit croaky. Oh. Sorry about that. Okay, so yeah, that'll be why some planes don't appear, particularly if they're military, including overseas military aircraft. So there is a military exercise happening here at the moment, and down where you are, you would see a lot of military aircraft flying around that won't pop up on transponders. If you are talking about civilian aircraft, that's a different ballgame. They do, for the most part, have to file a flight plan, and that flight plan is usually listed with the things like Flight Aware and Flight Radar 24, that sort of thing. My understanding is it might be different these days, but at one point, Flight Radar was more a general indication rather than an exact indication of or whether or not it actually started. I remember using the app once and following an aircraft that was coming up from Sydney to Brisbane, and I was meeting it, and I watched for it in the sky as I was looking on my iPad. I was watching for it to come into land. There was no aircraft in the sky. Later found out that the thing hadn't left; it had an engine issue. So sometimes there are some weird things goes on with those apps, but I haven't used it in a while, so I couldn't tell you whether or not they've changed that. Yes, Paul, I think that is the case, 100%. G'day, Scotty. I hope you're doing all right, mate. G'day, Fern. Sab, nice to have you in the house again, mate. The lovely Belinda. The Peter dude from Pinaroo. Hope you're doing all right, mate. Our mutual friend is on his way back and will hopefully be able to call into you at a reasonable hour. Well, he's not on his way back yet. I think he's leaving tomorrow night. So, hey, Margot. G'day, Rob, Connie. Oh, Connie. Oh, love that haircut. It's not too bad, is it? And lovely lady did it. It was cheap enough. Well, when I say cheap enough, I think it was $30, but that seems pretty fair. Yeah, I think, Raj, I don't think you have to wait for the Olympics to be over to see what happens. Just keep watching. Anytime soon. Anytime soon. Lovely words from Sunflower. I'm going to go down here a bit further. Hello, Katrina. Neville, nice to have you in the house. As usual. Okay, all right. I seem to have got the bottom of the chat. Neville, any median miles ahead in the nearest veg? Yeah. Okay, righto. Let's have a bit of a look at what we can talk about tonight. That little thing that I stuck up the front, well, how does that make you feel? The Australian government redacts every single word of a 78-page report on the spicy jab batch tests. Every word. I think if you are of a mind, I would be writing to your politicians, all of them, but I would be particularly sending one to Malcolm Roberts, to Gerard Rennick, to Alex Antic, and to Ralph Babbitt, them to prosecute the case against the government for this unbelievable act. How guilty do you have to be to redact every word in a report? How scared would you have to be of what if they were to find out what happened? Those batch test reports, well, somebody will have access to them, and hopefully Julian Gillespie will have some access to that. It would be the best thing for all if that could happen, I think. Absolutely. Now, let's get into some interesting things. Now, years ago in America, there was a president named Gerald Ford. Now, Gerald, I think he was a one-term president as well, from memory. And he had this rather interesting prediction. Just have a look.
A young lady wanting to become president of the United States.
Well, I hope we do have a young lady at some point become president of the United States. I can tell you how I think it will happen, because it won't happen in the normal course of events. Either the Republican or Democrat political party will nominate a man for president and a woman for vice president. And the woman and man will win. So you'll end up with a president, a male, and a vice president, a female. And in that term of office of the president will die. And the woman will become president under the law or Constitution. And once that barrier is broken, from then on, men better be careful, because they'll have a hard time ever even getting a nomination in the future. But that's the way it's going to happen, and I think it'll probably come sometime in the next 4 or 8 years.
So that was 1989, 4 or 8 years. So take it up to the mid-90s. Who came into our world and our being then? The Clintons on the global stage, amongst other things. It was a very weird thing to sort of say, though, isn't it? That sort of a prediction for the little girl. A president would have to die. Now, surely a president dying is not actually going to happen. I mean, they don't do that sort of thing, do they? Well, turns out.
Hi, good afternoon. And again, I just wanted to echo the sentiment of what an honor it is to be part of this wonderful team here at Walter Reed. Yesterday evening, the president received his 3rd dose of remdesivir. He tolerated that infusion without difficulty, and his kidney and liver function continued to be normal. Our plan is to give the 4th dose of remdesivir this evening before he goes back to the White House, and we've made arrangements to deliver the 5th and final dose of his treatment course at the White House tomorrow evening. He continues on dexamethasone, and again, the plan for today is to continue to be up and out of bed, eat and drink, and work as he is able. And I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Jason Blaylock, who's an infectious disease specialist and the chief of medicine here at Walter Reed, to give some updates on infection control. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I just want to say what an honor it's been to be part of this medical team behind me and to care for the president. Since the president's arrival at Walter Reed, he's received medical management that remains in line with national clinical societal guidelines for treatment of COVID-19 infection. In addition, both myself and Dr. Wes Campbell have worked very closely with various laboratories in the area, state-of-the-art facilities to include USAMRIID and RARE on obtaining advanced diagnostic testing to really inform the White House medical team of both the status of the president as well as his ability to transmit virus to others. Also, we have worked very closely with the Walter Reed team to ensure that we are looking very closely at infection control prevention strategies and the right posture so that the president can safely return to his residence. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr.
There's a whole crew of those doctors who come along and just say how proud they are to be part of the team that's treating the resident in chief with remdesivir. So, what happens if Joe dies? And there's every chance. We know remdesivir, if that is indeed what they're doing to him, is going to have a significant impact on a gentleman of that age. And it won't take long. That will automatically catapult Kamala into well, because it's an election year, she would be a caretaker president at best, with a government that should be in caretaker mode. But of course, it won't be. An administration that should be in caretaker mode, but it won't be. They will be working their ass off to do anything they can to get rid of Trump. There is an awful lot of interesting, a little bit weird video emerging of Trump and reptile-like eyes, shape-shifting sorts of things. So I don't know if this is just some of the pushback coming from the other side, or this is something new that requires something, a bit more delving into. There is certainly some very interesting lines being drawn between Trump's personal taste and the penthouse at Trump Tower in New York City. There is a video showing, well, it's not a video. It is a video, but it's showing a picture that goes through and shows a number, or identifies a number of things in a living room. And, okay, not my style of living room, very Greek, but that's the point. It's very Greek. And I don't know, have to look into it a little bit more yet. But I know there are many of you who don't believe that Trump is the be-all and end-all and the savior of everything, and could just be the other head or the other side of the coin. And I'm not prepared to say he's not. So I think we need to always keep our eyes open. We need to improve our discernment. Do I think he would be better than what's currently going on for the world? Yes, I do. But it wouldn't be hard to look good, because, who are you up against? Albanese? I mean, today we respect Vladimir Putin more than we respect our own prime minister. None of us are sure whether or not they're the real people, by the way. But my, how things have changed. And over such a short time frame. So, we have a much deeper understanding and a much greater respect, can I say love, for our Russian friends than ever before in our history, certainly in my lifetime. So I take that as a good thing. It is, welcoming these people into all our communities and being welcomed into theirs. And that has been, particularly in certainly big areas like Sydney and Melbourne. Wonderful, 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 wonderful. And really know about family. Family comes first. So they also know about communism. They also know about fascism. They know about oppression. And that's why there are so many of them standing with us. God love you for it. Thank you. So we should all band together and help those folks whenever we can, and keep our eyes wide open, because we want Trump to be everything. But is he a savior? Is he? I don't think he's calling himself a messiah. I did see a video clip of him saying words to the effect, "I have been called. I am the one. I have been called." But I think he was being a bit tongue-in-cheek with the media at the time. And if you don't see the whole context, and I haven't, then it just seems a bit off, the intonation and the way he's speaking and all that. So, yeah. I want everything to be, everything that we believe Trump to be, which is good, to be. Seriously do. And we are seeing drastic things happening on stock markets around the world. There was a little bit more blood today, and more I believe coming next week with the release of the figures for 5 more big companies out of the US, I think it is. With that bad financial news hovering over America, and with the fact that the current sitting president seems to be sitting with, by now, at least 5 jabs of remdesivir in him, is there any wonder that people might see this over the skies?
She's sitting there now. She's sitting there. What is that? Hey, what is that? You see that, guys? What is that? Look. What is that? What is going on? Are you kidding me? What is that? Somebody catch me. What is that?
I think it's pretty clear what that is. I think that's an F-35. And I'm pretty confident that's the US Capitol it's sort of hovering over. I might be wrong. I don't really know the Capitol building terribly well, except from, those expansive shots on TV occasionally. But it does seem to be a bit like that. But it could be in Europe somewhere, because there are a lot of domed type buildings like that in Europe. And it may well have been there. Fact is, very weird for it to be so low and hovering the pattern there that it was. Well, unless it was like the thing we saw last night, and it needed to be ready to make chase or fire missiles at something unidentified. More strange lights in the sky. Many, many, many more strange lights in the sky. Speaking of strange lights in the sky, Greenie, who is one of the lovely blokes down in Melbourne that I refer to quite often, Greenie sent me a video today. He wanted to show me how normal the weather is down there at the moment.
Totally normal, Carl. Totally normal clouds. Rest of the sky, perfect.
Wow. Play that one more time.
Totally normal, Carl. Totally normal clouds. Rest of the sky, perfect.
Yeah. Very much a direct line there, hey? Thank you, Greenie, for that. And if you want to email me stuff that folks like that, then please do. Carl@vofhq.com. If you've seen a weather thing that you think is strange, that you love, see it. Just like this one that Sunflower sent me, but she this. I think she found it somewhere and just passed it along. That is a rather amazing, cloud formation when you look at that. There are so many interesting things wrong with that picture. It's almost like the clouds look like water in the top of that picture to me. And yeah, well, those white patches, they do seem to be very meticulously aligned for whatever reason. Now, I don't know, we did see a big cloud in the video that we played last night. Haven't managed to get any more videos like that one from last night, but I don't see any UFOs popping out of those ones. I should have mentioned this at the start of the show. There'll be a number of people who aren't seeing the show tonight because this morning when I woke up, I had all 3 YouTube channels banned and on a strike again. And I appealed for the Nun2K channel and for the Voice of Freedom channel. My appeal was immediately accepted and the channel returned to me for Nun2K and immediately rejected for the Voice of Freedom and not returned to me. So it's got a strike against me. We won't see anything on the Voice of Freedom channel or the Voy See Freedom channel for the next week or so, 7 days. I have... somebody's going back through old videos and they're picking different weird stuff. And when I say different weird stuff, here is why Voice of Freedom is down. Content that advances false claims about the eligibility requirements for current political candidates and elected government officials to serve office isn't allowed on YouTube. So it's not a false claim to say Kamala Harris's birthright if you are showing her correct lineage. That isn't breaking any problem. It doesn't advance a false claim because there is nothing false about the claim. Her parents did not come from America. She spent most of her life, early life, in Canada. And yet, that's the kind of shit we're now going to have to deal with YouTube, because there will be an argument about her eligibility, particularly if Biden happens to trip over with his remdesivir drip into him, and YouTube aren't going to allow us to have it, by the look. So we'll have to wait and see. Just more of the bullshit that they managed to put up with or go on with. Their terms and conditions, which I have read a while ago, and they are very specific, particularly when it comes to medical misinformation. But I've now made them very aware and have sent paperwork to suggest that it is their policies that are outlined with 93 different countries around the world, and that their policies should in fact reflect, including the US policy, and that YouTube should be reflecting general global policy, not what they think it is, or they might wind up getting sued. And all of a sudden there was a bit of a change in things. So remains to be seen. Somebody else might have got back in charge, and that's why I woke up and found 3 channels gone last night, and I've only got one of them back, but got the main one back. So my apologies to those who will be looking on Voice of Freedom and on Voice of Freedom, able to find us because that's it. They haven't given them back yet. Bastards. Some interesting news out of the markets today. Netflix received a $7 million, I beg your pardon. The co-owner of Netflix gave Kamala Harris a $7 million donation, a super PAC, they call it. So a super PAC that he's part of, he stumped up $7 million to it. That is the largest single donation ever to a super PAC, it's believed. What happened next? I think this is beautiful. Netflix stock tumbled almost 40%. It lost $2 billion in 4 hours. $2 billion in 4 hours. Do you think the co-owner might have made a bit of a mistake? Bear in mind, Netflix is the channel of choice for most of your Luciferian content, including a show called Lucifer. But particularly if only if you have a mind to, because it is quite sick and quite dark. Just about everything produced, filmed, owned, made by Netflix, not programs they bought in from other people and other networks, but stuff that they have. And remember, some years ago, or you might not know, it was very exciting news to those of us in the game. Maybe 10 years ago or more, they announced they had a fund of nearly $700 million, I want to say it was, to start building their own content rather than having to buy it in and then have people pay for it. All of the content that they make is dark. There is elements of it that are very dark, satanically dark. You can always tell a Netflix movie. There are no really great, expensive car scene chases or helicopter camera shots or that sort of stuff. Quite often it's all filmed in one interior location and one exterior location. There might be 4 or 5 people. The Obama movie is that, end of existence movie that the Obamas produced. That's a good example of it. They make them as cheaply as they can. But the dialogue and the music and everything of it's just very, very dark. And today have seen a number of people. G'day, Bob. I hope you're doing all right. Bob up on the Sunshine Coast, different Bob to the other Bob. Bob's cancelled his Netflix thing today. And I've seen maybe 8 or 10 others who have done exactly the same thing. I don't think I have Netflix. I haven't tried to watch it in God knows how long because, well, I just believe it's satanic. So that fits that the co-owner would be stumping over such a huge amount of money to this bloke that they want to dress up and send off to the front lines as the next president. That really does fit. Quite a satanic, whole little satanic ritual thing there. But that's going to potentially continue unless, what's he going to do? Oh, hang on, give it back? Or is he going to double down? Is he going to tell everybody how stupid they are? I'd imagine as he's only a co-owner, his other co-owners might be hauling him into an office very shortly for a very stern conversation. Maybe they were also involved. Who knows? But I doubt it. I doubt it. All right, let me go back into the chat here and see what you guys are doing. Cancelled yours years ago, Colleen. Good girl. Yeah, Fern, I'm the same. I can't watch dark movies too much anymore. If I don't watch, I used to be a big movie watcher, and I was a great movie watcher because I could watch a movie 15 times and still love it. But nowadays, not the movies they make these days. They make me feel very differently for whatever reason, and particularly these Netflix ones. They make me feel it's just disgusting. I really don't enjoy Netflix. The only good thing I believe to come out of Netflix is Drive to Survive, the Formula One behind the scenes thing. But even then, Formula One is a billionaire sport. It travels all over the world. It has very, very high connections, powerful connections to the elites, the rich and famous. And while I love Formula One, I'm going to wonder where it fits in all of this. So, yeah. Okay. I'm just trying to catch up with a bit of the things in the chat here. Are you still having a bit of a natter about Trump's? Oh, well, Director Wray, FBI Director Wray, was in front of Congress in the last 36 hours or so. He has decided that the report they're putting forward does not confirm that Trump was shot with a bullet. It could have been shrapnel, although he hasn't identified shrapnel from what. There was talk that he was cut by some flying glass. Well, I think you've all seen the evidence of the video that shows the bullet actually coming through his ear. Well, what looks to be a bullet. I guess CGI can do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. So believe it or don't, as you will. At the end of the day, we have what we have. A president with a Band-Aid on his ear, or a former president with a Band-Aid on his ear, one with at least 4 and probably by now 5 jabs of remdesivir into him, and another bloke dressed up as a Sheila who is running around getting huge financial donations. Oh, and remember that Joe and Jill just signed over their election monies. All the money that had been raised for Joe's campaign has now gone to her as well. So there is a significant amount of money that has gone in behind her. But still, Barack Obama has not come out and supported her for president. Why? Because he knows she cannot win. She cannot win. Whatever. Very weird. Okay. What are we owning Neville for? Oh, yeah. Well done, Neville. Get the Celtic salt. Good stuff. In fact, I've got Himalayan salt. I haven't got Celtic salt at the moment. I did see some. And why did I get it? Can't remember now. Okay. Yep, most of the movies have obvious symbolism. You know what I like doing? I like going back to the old movies. I told you, didn't I recently go back and watch Capricorn 1? It's on YouTube. You can get it for nothing. There are a lot of movies in the 80s and 90s that I occasionally might go back and watch. But I watch them now with a whole different perspective. I'm looking for the symbology. I'm looking for what they're trying to show us. And I'm just, now that I've brought it up, I can't tell you any examples of what I found. But I'll start writing them down. There are some pretty drastic ones, and one will come to me, but probably not right now. I watched, I don't know, a week ago, before I got crook. It'll come to me, but it was quite startling, the honesty that was being told in that movie when you view it from 25 or 30 years later, or 35 years later. So quite weird. Yeah, 80s movies were fun. They didn't seem to want to take away your soul. The ones today, they definitely do appear a bit more like that. I would agree. Yeah, well, Aussie Patriot, I think you've taken the wise decision there, my friend. The very wise decision. I've given up on TV totally, like free-to-air TV. I'll tell you, I can't really show you, but just over here, I have a TV that is sitting on a couch, big 50-inch TV, that I haven't even bothered plugging in, turning on. I want to mount it up here, which it should be able to do above me. But I keep looking at it and thinking, oh, God, bit of work in doing that for the amount of time that I ever actually watch TV. So I don't watch free-to-air TV. If I get news, it's usually because I'm scanning a Sky News or something website, and something piques my interest, and I'll have a look. But I'll be following the Olympic opening ceremony just simply because I've got a horrible feeling about it, a really horrible feeling about it. I've got a really horrible feeling about Paris in general and the Olympics in general. So still haven't been able to shake that for whatever reason. And all I hope and pray is that everybody who's over there stays safe. That except for the pickpockets, I'd like them to get caught, get their due in jail. That would be nice. Oh, and the rapists, wouldn't mind them getting caught either. The gendarmerie. There does seem to be, speaking of gendarmerie, in America, in Washington, D.C., in the last 24, 38, 36 hours, 48 hours maybe, there has been a concerted campaign by a moderately sized group of people to vandalize every public monument in Washington, D.C., putting up hummus and all things towards Palestine and that sort of stuff on, and spraying them all over these significant national monuments and whatnot in Washington, D.C., while the police are standing back and doing nothing. They're doing nothing. They're not stopping them. They're not arresting them. They're not doing absolutely nothing. How weird is that, folks? I mean, seriously, how weird is that? I'd like to know what happened if they would go up to that. Well, they wouldn't, because it's guarded 24/7 days a week. But the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C., you wouldn't want to go there and try and mess around. Get yourself in a lot of trouble. Yeah, Rob, 100% on the money there. It's very hard to know exactly what's going on. But if you focus and hold on to something and, it disappears like a puff of smoke through your fingers, well, you've got the right attitude. Go with the flow. You just got to chill, roll with it, and we'll deal with it when we come to it. We know something's coming. We can feel it in our waters. Is that the best way to describe it? But we don't know when. So when it comes, there'll no doubt be a big bang. Hopefully it'll wake many more people up and not kill them at the same time. That would be useful. But we know what's coming. We might blink when the bang comes, but we're not going to, scream and drop down on the floor and start crying and not understand what's going on. We'll be in a position to help and move forward, do the right thing. Well, I've got Michael, the Canberra truck driver, brother, calling me. Mr. Offie. He mustn't be watching the show. Slack bugger. Just how it is, I guess. Or maybe you thought I'd be finished by now. Oh, wow. Michelle Brady. Bradley Smith. You have what? Murray River salt. Murray River salt. Didn't know the Murray River had salt. Not surprised, I suppose. It does get into the sea there, doesn't it? So, yeah, there is a bit of salt floating around there, I'm sure. Well, I wonder what that's like. Is it good, bad, or indifferent? What's the mineral content of it like? Does it taste like carp? Just wondering. Asking for a friend. Yeah, free to air or fake reality, 100%. And and all corrupt, all owned by the cabal. And once again, we know why they call it TV programming, don't we? Because that's exactly what it does. It programs you, tells you how to act, what to think, what to feel. It lets you get a little bit angry, get a little bit sad, get a little bit happy, but only in the doses and the measures they want. Only used for the good doctor and blue bloods. Celine Dion, she can't be doing the Olympics. What's she going to do? Just stand there and hold the torch? Well, I suppose she could do the Olympics. It's going to be a devil-worshipping ceremony, and God knows she's close enough to it. She doesn't have to put on too much makeup. Have you seen her recently? Yeah, amazing what happens when you can't get your adrenochrome. Oh my God, I haven't seen that picture. The Eiffel Tower on fire. Wow. It's interesting. The Eiffel Tower has a different purpose, other than being a tower and a restaurant up the top of it or whatever it is. So yeah, that's interesting. I wonder where the fire is. Probably. Oh, look, I'm not going to speculate. Interesting. We'll have to go and have a look at that. Yeah, look, I hate vandals, full stop. I hate thieves and I hate vandals. And people who go around wrecking public property just because they can, I'm not a fan of. They need to be brought back to the place and scene of their crime and scrub off everything they put on there, or have it scrubbed off by them. I mean that. You put their face up against it and you start rubbing really hard. They'll learn. Police don't stand with people just about anywhere at the moment, SR. That's the saddest thing I think the world is suffering. We are so alone from those who should be standing for us at times like this. We are so separate from them, and we have been isolated from them deliberately. And militaries across the world, should I have said around the world, they're not helping the people as they should. Their oaths, in some cases, if they have an oath, has been changed. So an oath to the people is no longer what we would expect them to have. They have an oath to a corporation, in Australia's case, a Commonwealth corporation. And we need to appeal to those military people who know what's going on, because it's only with their military's help to support us to make the change. Because we know the police aren't going to help us, although there were indications that they were changing tack, but I don't think that is the case. Bear in mind that in Queensland, they've sucked in, I think, over 1,400 new police into the academy from overseas for sped up training, and then put them straight up into the communities. And I think they may have done that 2 or 3 times, maybe not 14. Maybe it's 1,400 total they've put through. Might be a few more. But Victoria is also called, and New South Wales and Western Australia and South Australia all opened up their police force to anybody from overseas who wants to give it a go. Very shortly, you are going to find people, I'm sure you already are, seeing police officers walking down the street, probably reminiscent of those 3 US Secret Service agents trying to protect Donald Trump. Particularly love the one who couldn't put her gun away. She couldn't remember where a holster was on her belt. Look. Well, it was a big day out. Oh, the Pink Lake in Victoria. That is absolutely beautiful. I used to, not live close, but I wasn't too far away. We used to drive past it on the odd occasion, the Pink Lake. And I don't know, do they farm that salt at the Pink Lake there? I'm not sure. Probably possible to farm it even. Someone said Celtic's even than Himalayan. Yeah, well, I've heard that Celtic is. I've heard Celtic is better for certain things than Himalayan. Himalayan is the better overall salt for everything. The mix for what ails you. I've heard Celtic salt is stronger. It attaches or it attracts more bad thing. I don't know. Can't remember, but there is a big difference. All right. Let me just finish scrolling down here. Yeah, lots of criminal minds out there at the moment. Katrina, you went up the Eiffel Tower and couldn't get down fast enough. Windy day or somebody take a dump up the top there? I believe that's quite a regular thing. Paris stinks. The River Seine stinks. I believe that they've tried very hard to clean it out for this Olympics, but there are so many people living rough in Paris, so many immigrants who've been digging holes and shitting in it all their life until they got to Paris or got to France, because it's hard to dig a hole through the bitumen, so now they just shit on the bitumen and leave it there anywhere. We don't have to go to Paris. We know that happens in Darwin as well, Alice Springs, certain other places, but it's a big problem in Paris. It's a huge issue. And the whole place, isn't flash. The Parisians, the local Parisians have all departed. They want nothing to do with the Olympics. Those business owners who believed the hype, the government told them that, oh, yes, there'll be 15 million visitors coming for the Olympics. 15 million visitors coming for the Olympics. They didn't have 15 million seats at events for the whole time, right? There were going to be 15 million visitors coming during the Olympics. I think they must have employed the same PR company that the Queensland government employed for the Commonwealth Games back in 2016, was it, when they were on the Gold Coast? And they convinced everybody on the Gold Coast to, if you didn't have to be here, take a holiday, go away. The traffic will be bloody awful. There'll be so many people here and cars and trucks. No. Businesses had to buy food in advance and be able to store it for 2 weeks because delivery trucks weren't going to be able to get into places. And this is all what's happened over there in Paris as well. So businesses have had to stock up. And now some of these main businesses, these very photogenic, Instagrammery type venues that are famous for just that and who do 300 covers a day for their restaurants, and some are just bars, are now doing 10 covers, and half a dozen people turn up for a drink. Nobody's coming. Also, part of the reason that these cafes and these restaurants are so popular normally is because they are right on the River Seine. However, they're on the wrong side of the River Seine. They've got a fence now just across the road from their restaurant, where you would ordinarily sit outside on the al fresco on the footpath and look across as you sip your whipped whatever, looking at the River Seine. But now that's all fenced off. You can't see it because, oh, no, you haven't paid for a ticket to go to the Olympics. So if they happen to sail past without seeing them, you can't have that. And it becomes a precinct then, you see. So you can't get through. So nobody's going to these places to have their photo taken in front of a chain link fence. It's just not going to happen. So the business people in Paris, a lot of them are really starting to kick up. I have no doubt some will be doing just fine, thank you, but there will be a lot that are not doing very well at all, just like on the Gold Coast, where businesses went broke because of the Commonwealth Games because nobody came. All the locals did go away. So there were no locals going to restaurants. They lost all that business. Clubs, pubs, everything. No locals went anywhere. They didn't want to get caught in the traffic. And the really funny part about it was, because everybody took that advice and disappeared, there was no traffic, which was great for the Commonwealth Games Committee because they could get their people to and from events and venues really quickly without any trouble. But not real good, not real flash for business who depend on people being able to drive to a certain area or get close to it and be able then to access it to have a meal. So this could cause riots in the streets just by the workers, the dishwashers, the chefs, the waiters, the waitresses, the maitre d's, because they've lost their livelihood. The government screwed it again. And could this be a lesson to us all? The Olympics, while being a magnificent showcase in sporting ability, let's face it, is just a money laundering operation to pay elites at the IOC. We know historically that bribing AOC members has been the only way so through the nomination process into the selection process, and actually winning that process, we know, has entailed handing money, apartments, flight, holidays, all sorts of things over to IOC delegates. I don't know, don't know that it's still going on, but I've got to ask. There's a lot of money goes to that board, and we don't see too much back from it with any of it, do we? So watch this space. Maybe that's in part what is going to be exposed here. The corruption of the Olympics in general. It's not just a sporting event. It is a cash cow for the people who hold the rights to it every 4 years. A multi-billion-dollar cash cow. Radio networks, TV networks. Channel 9, I find this quite funny. Channel 9, who have radio, TV, and newspaper interests, now dealing with a strike through their newspaper arm. All their journalists have gone on strike. They've decided to continue and remain on strike for at least another week while they demand a better pay deal. Now, that's because these print media journalists have found out what Channel 9's electronic media journalists are being paid, and it's a shitload more than them. So they want to get more money, and there are over 200 Channel 9 staff in Paris for the Olympics. There are 12 specifically print media journalists to write for the various different mastheads that 9 own. They've gone out as well. They won't be writing anything for anyone, anywhere, anytime soon. And today, the chief of 9 has written an email to all staff that says he's very disappointed at the way this has gone. Well, it is very disappointing, I guess, when this is the largest news event in the globe, the Olympics generally, and it doesn't look like Channel 9's print media anyway is going to be able to cover it. They paid $305 million for the rights to cover the Olympics through till the end of Brisbane 2032. That's an awful lot of money. They've got to try and make that back in advertising, obviously. And to be able to make it back in advertising, they've got to have staff who are writing articles, if you like, that people are reading, getting clicks on, and being able to profit from. I don't know that that's happening anyway. Paul, Paris, the city of love, not likely. Oh, really? I haven't even heard about this. Ever heard about this? The story about the Murray Bridge rowing team who went to the Olympic Games. Were they just tourists, or did Murray Bridge just happen to produce a champion rowing team? Oh, might have been a sculls thing, like a couple, rather than, what do they call it? The eights. Yeah. Good on you, Fern. My experience has been that if you attempt to speak French, they'll hate you for it, but then they'll understand, and they might speak a bit of English for you or try and help you. If you don't even attempt to speak French, they hate you even more and may not help you at all, particularly if you're English. And Aussies get confused as POMs over there quite a lot. Who knew? The French can tell the difference between a souffle and a whatever, but they can't tell the difference between a Pommy and an Aussie. From what I've been told by friends who've had this experience, once they find out you're an Aussie, it can go either way, but generally goes pretty well. And as long as you make an attempt to speak the language, they're usually pretty accommodating. What Aussies don't understand, I think, and we all know we have a particular kind of sense of humour, us Aussies, and we expect others to have kind of basic humour, if you like, in them. And I'm sure they do, but when the person you're thinking about or you're talking to comes from a different nation, speaks a completely different language, and you're telling them a joke, let's say, in English, they've got to convert it in their head to their language to really fully understand it. And sometimes it doesn't work like that. Their language doesn't structure. In fact, just about every time, because there are very few languages that structure like English does. So I speak from personal experience with my German mate with that one, although I know German sense of humor can be difficult to get to at times. Yeah, right. What's going on? Yeah, Phil, hope you're picking up and getting better too. And Ibidalia, is that how you say that? That's how I'm going to say it. Rach, what have we got here? Do you think once we get the hands on food replicators? Oh. Well, you want to know something really strange? It's funny you should say we forget what real food tastes like. Now, I'm pretty confident it's just because I've been crook. But I haven't been eating. I had a banana yesterday, and I had another banana this morning. I didn't taste either of those bananas at all. And yet I can taste other things. Can't taste the water. There's not much to taste. But I have noticed, maybe I thought I was just getting old. Maybe my taste buds are going. But I have been noticing my taste is not as discerning as it maybe once was. And God knows I put my tongue in some places and I've done an awful lot of talking and bending and scratching. And I haven't pierced my tongue. Wouldn't do that. But it's done a bit of work. just don't know whether or not you lose taste over time as you get older, do you? I certainly hope not. I really do enjoy tasting things, and I hope one day that will return to me in the not too distant future. Francais and Germany are both self-destructive. Well, there is a certain element of the Germans hating themselves and not forgiving themselves for what happened in World War II. I personally don't quite understand that, but Australians, like our sense of humour is different to the rest of the world, so too is our appreciation of history. Our culture is, 224 years old. They've got cobblestones that are puppies in age compared to that. In Europe particularly, the whole dynamic, the whole interaction between peoples has been done in such a way that I feel it either brings people together or there is stark division lines. And that's because there has been war. We're lucky we don't share a border with anyone here. So imagine all of a sudden if the states decided they were going to have a war against each other and those borders were now other countries. And I know that there are certain parts of far north Queensland that would like just that to happen. Thank you very much. There would be wars here in Australia. And we haven't had that experience, whereas everybody in Europe has. And those who it may not have lived through it, their parents did, or their aunts and uncles did, and they talk about it. In Germany, though, they don't talk about the war. They don't want to talk about it. They want to, like I say, they're very apologetic. They do not forgive themselves for it, even though none of them were probably alive for it. It's just not a topic that they like to talk about and bring up, and I understand. However, I do feel that it's a bit sad. Good stuff, Phil. You've got yourself under control. Oh, yeah, mate, you're doing something right there. Good numbers. Well done. Congratulations. Speaking of people who are unwell at the moment, I want to say hello to Len Clampett. Now, I'm not sure if I told you, Len is back in hospital. And unfortunately, it's a problem with his heart. Now, Len, for those of you who may or may not be aware of playing just for the first time, Len was the first Australian to sign up to go to Antarctica in December for the final experiment. And he was very much looking forward to it. And unfortunately, now he won't be able to go. The company that takes everybody down there said that they would be prepared to take him, but he would need to pay an insurance premium. That insurance premium was going to be $35,000. That's on top of the $61,000 they wanted to fly him down there for 5 days. And that is from Punta Arenas to the camp, which is in a mountain range, the Ellsworthy Range, about 600 kilometers inland off the shelf. Off the edge of the Antarctic shelf. So he won't be able to go now, unfortunately. There are a couple of other Aussies signed up, Where's Wally, and somebody has signed up. I think it's a different Where's Wally to the guy in Canberra, folks, just so you know. And I'll endeavour to find out what's going on there. Anyway, I just want you to put Len in your prayers, if you would. I was talking to him just before the show started tonight, and I will endeavour to pop in and see him in the next day or so, and hopefully, all things being equal, he'll be fit and back out and back up to join us in the not too distant future. And in fact, we were talking about some rather interesting little experiments that we're going to plan together, because he doesn't live too far from where I am at the moment. And once he's back on his feet, we might just go and have a couple of interesting flat Earth, global Earth experiments ourselves. He's a very intelligent and very well schooled gentleman, is our Len. Former pilot, former truck driver. I think he's probably done the law course, but he's never bothered being a lawyer. He's certainly done enough study, that's for sure. So yes, if you would put Len in your prayers, I would really appreciate that. He is a gentleman and a scholar, and I wish him all the best. Get back on his feet quick as. Let me have a look here. Ads. I can't understand sweet talk like everything is sugar. Okay, so we're not having a conversation about sugar. No sugar. Just the water. And a banana I couldn't taste today. I mean, Dana White wouldn't be happy with me because I've had a banana. I'm not exactly on the water diet, water fasting or whatever they called it. But got to say, I'm quite enjoying it. Quite enjoying it. And no, I'm not going to. No. What I do seem to be is very dehydrated. And thank you to everybody who suggested diabetes. God love you. No, don't have to worry about diabetes, at least not yet, thankfully. And I know that because I, for a long time, had a girlfriend who required very regular testing, and I used to test with her quite regularly, and I have a test kit. So I have tested myself, and I'm okay. So it's all good. I had to find batteries for that test kit, though. That was a bit of fun. Okay, let me have a bit of a glance down, see if I've finished up here. How did I go at the dentist? I haven't been to the dentist yet. I haven't, Shano, there's a reason I haven't been. All right, I haven't found I've got to order one, a magnet with a hole in it, because I want them to put whatever they're going to jab into me through that magnet and draw whatever in their fluid to the back of the syringe, and then they can jab me with what's in the front of the syringe and hopefully put a lot less people black shit into me. But yeah, look, yeah. Cost is the other thing that scares me a great deal about it. So, but I do have a more significant problem with a tooth now, and that is that one of my lower ones has just cracked. So, yeah, it's all going really well at the moment with teeth. I've just got to grow some balls and fill out some paperwork and buy myself a whole bunch of magnets so that I can try and drag as much of that shit away from the front of the needle as I can. Good on you, Phil. I'm glad you're picking up. Things are going well. All right. I think we're just about at the bottom there. Black Sheep's telling the world. Yeah, thank you, mate. If the sun does not set and the world is an orb, he'll donate $50 to Voice of Freedom. Gotta love you, Black Sheep. You're a wonderful man. Interesting conversations we always have, my friend. Bugger. There you go. Trump presidency. I don't think they treated Trump with remdesivir, but good try. I'm not saying it could well be an old video. I only picked it up late this afternoon. But they do seem to be referring to his most recent little thing. You do have me thinking now, though. I might have to go back and have a look at that crust. Appreciate that. There might be something else in that. Do I think the Dems will rig November 24? I think they're going to try. Absolutely. Yes. Will they be able to win it? No. If it gets to an election, I don't think they will win it. They will have algorithms and all sorts of things that will give 2-for-1 votes or half vote, extra half vote for every vote that Donald Trump gets, and an extra 1.5 votes for every Trump or every vote that Harris gets. And they've got to spread that out through the ballot boxes across the nation. Yes, they could do it. It would be a massive fraud, and it would be tracked. It would be seen, just like the one in 2020 was. To what end? Well, would wake up the American people, because we know apparently New York Post came out today with a poll that says Kamala was leading Trump. I cannot in any way, shape or form see how that is possible in a national unbiased vote or a national unbiased poll. What happens with these, media companies? They have a very broad database of people who've interacted with them, and they will have detail on, if it's only a phone number, they may not have names, but they might have a phone number, or they'll have an email address, or they have something. And then they will have notes about how that interaction with them went, what it was about, whether you were aggressive, whether you were meek, whether you could be bullied or lied to and would accept whatever you were told. A lot of psychological profiling, all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of that I think is going to come and be exposed in the near future. We see it used, well, increasingly now. Even kids, the psychological profiling that goes on for kids getting a job. I had a young boy tell me, he's like 16, 17 years old. He was going for a job at I won't say what fast food restaurant, but he said, I had to answer this question, this question, this question. Like, that's a psychological profile. They're building a profile on you. Now, I don't know if that's the way that these companies work these days. Want to find out what they can put you through, whether or not they can let you back into the meat room, I suppose, would be the biggest thing. Don't eat cereals or the pears here, but they're those pears in a you get them in a 4-pack, and they're those little tins. You give them to kids for lunches and that sort of thing. I love pear. They're still in date, but I only pulled them out of the cupboard yesterday and saw them. But I just anything that's been processed, anything that's run through a processing plant, I just don't trust anymore. I mean, it's hard enough to just trust the pears at the shop, but I do. They're bloody beautiful. But yeah, trusting anything that's come through a processing plant now, I'm find that very, very difficult. Joanne, Wano is saying that there may be a late election. Well, I would say Juan's saying a lot of different things, because he has been saying there won't be an election. Now, if he's now saying there'll be a late election, well, he's a lot closer, I guess. If what we're led to believe is real, he's a lot closer to the truth than I am. So, the case, I will send him a text and ask if that is the case. Yeah, there are 5 states, but they've moved it across 11. And I don't think they'll even be able to do that this time, although they have flooded those states with illegals who also have the power to vote. Yeah, hippies, that's just bullshit. Director Ray's, they said, it was shrapnel. Well, the bullet can show you the audio, can play you the audio. You don't hear the bullet hit anything. You hear the shot, you hear the report, and until I showed you the two little tick-tick noises that could only have been picked up by the lectern microphone, then, yeah, anyway, it is what it is. That Inspector, what is he? Ray, FBI Director Ray, I still, well, I understand why he's still got the job at the moment. I don't understand why Trump appointed him, because Trump appointed him. He thought he got rid of Comey and put that prick in. It's like, wow. I hope he's become a bit more discerning in who he's going to put into these things. But then someone picked Vance as his VP. And today there have been some interesting revelations about Mr. Vance's early years and some of his vocal positions on certain things. So watch this space. That could be pretty interesting too. Yeah, Diane, I think you're, I'd pray the same. Yes, I think Black Sheep is probably voicing what many of us think. I don't see how they can allow Trump to live. The criminals have too much to lose. Yep, that's certainly going to be the biggest issue, I think, facing an election. Can't have an election if they execute one of the participants, particularly in the lead up to it. Less and less, it appears they're not going to wheel out Big Mike, because even Big Mike can't win against a living Donald Trump. However, if he were to die, it'd be a simple matter of stepping Big Mike up and replacing, or not even having to replace him as the nominee. He could simply just step up, and I think you would find Kamala would step down. And all of a sudden we'd have Big Mike Obama as president. So that could be a bit frightening. More frightening, in fact, than Kamala Harris as a president. And I've got to say, that's saying something. She's bloody frightening. All right. I think I've just about got to the end of it. You guys have been typing hard tonight. Michelle. Homemade oregano oil. Nice. How do you fold that? Okay. You must have a press, do you? Isn't oregano a leaf? And you'd have to press it. Oh, presses are available. Plenty of olive presses. Oh, yeah, I was talking to Guru, and he did... I don't know what the hell. He did send me a flyer, which... Where did I save that? So, yeah, Guru and Mel, there's an event happening in Wollongong on Monday, a community event. They're very keen to get everybody, or as many people as possible, to... where are we? I probably should have looked for this at an earlier juncture. I will dig it out and I'll post it, something up tomorrow with it. So, yeah, it is an event in Wollongong at the local council meeting. It's happening on Monday night. So if you can get along, that would be a really, really, really big support. And I was talking to Guru yesterday, and we'll get together and have a bit of a chat again online together in the not too distant future. He's just sorting his ends out at the moment, and I haven't been well, and and we want to try and line up exactly what it is we're going to talk about, there's been a lot of interesting things to talk about. But there's no point kicking dead horses either. I'm not into rolling people over and beating them to death. That's not what I'm going to do or allow him to do. And not that I think that's his intention either. But we are trying to lift the vibration, generally speaking, of us all. And it's very hard to do that while being negative towards one or two trolls. That's why I try not to be terribly negative towards the trolls anymore. You do what you do, and I'll do what I do, and that's okay. We should be okay with that. If you want to be petty and low and whatever, then well, okay, that's for you to deal with. That's no real issue for me because it doesn't affect me. Now, unfortunately, you can, being a troll, have an effect on others who maybe don't deal with what trolls do the same way I do. Don't have that experience, get too emotional or do get emotionally involved or sucked into it. My advice to you is never get emotionally involved in an argument with a troll. However, I've had some of the best conversations and some very interesting learning experiences by being able to have a dialogue with trolls. So never discount them. And I know that more than one has come across to our side simply because they've come here to troll me and have gone and put a few things I've said to the test, and it's made them go, So I have got a couple of converts. I have no doubt I've scared a few people off as well. But anyway, I only bring it up because harmony is what we need. Unification is what we need. Coming together is what we need. Unless, of course, you're on the road. Stay away from anybody on the road. Don't come together there. It gets very expensive and makes a mess. Hippie, you've been trolled by the government. Screw the government back by now, surely. Although the government tends to be a malicious kind of troll. And yeah, they can be a little bit different to handle with, but yeah, no fun. All right, folks, I'm going to love you and leave you for tonight at any rate. If all things go to plan and I am feeling much improved again tomorrow, then I would expect that I will be going to the Haunted Hotel tomorrow evening to catch up with Shay de Montfort and Sarah Neal. Sarah is in Boona tonight doing a mediumship show there. And tomorrow night, it's a private event, but tomorrow night we're having dinner and then we are going to do a walkthrough of this hotel where there is apparently at least one spirit. And a group of very hardy individuals will be staying in the hotel all night as well. So we'll pop along and see what happens, provided I'm not going to give everybody what I've got. If I feel like I'm going to give this to you, I'm not going to come because I don't want to make people sick. And I don't want people who may get sick from being near me. I haven't been near practically anybody except the hairdresser. I don't want them accusing me of giving them COVID because I haven't got COVID. How do I know? I haven't been tested. You can't have it if you haven't been tested. In fact, I find the only way you can have it is if you have been tested. I find that a little weird. At any rate, your weekend, be good, be safe, be a little loud, be a little outrageous, but be safe. Stay off the roads if you find the dickheads are out there. God love you all, folks, and thank you for your support. VOFHQ.com, and you can send a few bucks if you so choose. We'd prefer to have you as a member, and go and grab yourself a hoodie. Oh, hoodies. Vince told me today he'll be getting the first orders back on the 30th, so he'll be mailing them out same day. So if you've ordered a hoodie, expect yours coming sometime in the first week of next month. Pretty cool. Have a good night.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!